Hi, my name is Maksim Kalashnikov. I'm a product manager with AdExchange. My purpose here today is to talk to you primarily about programmatic and how it can make your business better, more profitable, and more efficient. But I'd like to take a few minutes to dive a little deeper on some of the things that Bonita mentioned, namely some of the trends that are very important and that are happening in the industry today, and which programmatic is one of those trends, and it underlies and makes the other trends accelerate. So I mentioned acceleration. We call this the acceleration era, and the reason why we call this acceleration is because now, today, ad spend is moving from offline to online in an accelerated rate. We're seeing this more and happening more and more. So the four trends that we are seeing, the mega trend, the super trend, is that programmatic is everywhere. More and more we are seeing that programmatic is becoming the way in which advertising is bought and sold, and not only on the web. The other trend that Bonita mentioned is multi-screen first. So she spoke a lot about mobile, but I want to highlight the fact that not only is it a big shift to mobile, but also important to understand is that users are moving to multiple screens and accessing your content via multiple screens throughout the day. So and you should think of your business as you will succeed if you enable your content strategy and your ad monetization strategy to take advantage of that shift. Audience is becoming a very viable and full-fledged currency of the advertising market. And I'll talk about a little bit more about what's happening specifically to enable that trend. And lastly, one of the biggest trends that we are seeing is that brand spend is the biggest opportunity for display today and in the near future. Let's dive a little deeper in each of those before we dive fully into programmatic and how it can improve your business. At DoubleClick, every year we run a conference called CAB, where we bring together our customers on both buy and sell side. And one of the things that we do every year is we ask our participants, our attendees ahead of time, what are some of the most important subjects that they want us to cover, they want to find out more about. And in just 1 year, this year 2013, programmatic jumped from being the number 8 most important topic to all the way to the top. And as this quote from Forbes demonstrates, not only is programmatic very important, but it's taking a new, bigger role in the overall monetization strategy of a publisher. Multi-screen first. That's the second trend. When you go back to your office, open your web analytics and take a look and see what percentage of your traffic today is coming from not from a computer, not from a PC. Open your ad server analytics and see what fraction of your ad traffic is coming from non-PC. What we see is that today already, over half of the world's internet traffic comes from non-PC devices. And when we open up DFP analytics, DFP logs, we see that today over 20% of our ad traffic comes from non-PC. So just to highlight, you see these huge numbers for mobile and video, but it's important to realize it's multiple screens, not just a move to mobile. And so in order to be successful, you must think as a publisher and adjust your strategy on both content and monetization to take advantage of the shift to multi-screen devices where your users are throughout the day. Audience as a currency. Yesterday, the world was a simpler place. A user had a computer, used probably one or at most two browsers. There was a cookie in each browser, and a user visited your site, and you knew who that user was. You had seen that person before, and you see them again tomorrow. Today, and the industry was basically policing itself for privacy through things like the Network Alliance initiative. Today, the world is much more complicated. With the proliferation of multiple screens, multiple apps, multiple browsers, the identity of the user who comes to your site is much, much more fragmented. And it's becoming increasingly complicated to know and recognize the same user. In addition, various regulatory regulations exist that deal with privacy, and that make it even more complicated for you to recognize your audience and use your audience for better targeting and better user experience. This is changing. In the future, you will basically be able to recognize your user because the user will use technology, our technology or our competitor technology to basically say, hi, my name is Maksim, and I'm willing to share my identity with you so that I can get better advertisement, better user experience, and so forth. And brand as the opportunity. Today, online advertising is a $50 billion worldwide industry. But most of that is direct response advertising. Overall advertising industry, by contrast, is a $200 billion industry. And we are working, and we're seeing a shift, the accelerated shift, where that money is moving online. But you would ask me, why has it not moved online sooner? And the reason for that historically has been that online advertising technologies lacked some of the tools that brand advertisers needed and that they were accustomed to in the offline advertising world. Measurement, brand lift, rich brand-friendly formats were missing. And there was not enough efficiency online, or there was too much complexity online in seamlessly running a branded campaign. This is all changing. So, for example, now Google offers a few brand measurement metrics that are typically encountered offline. Online GRP, gross ratings points. True view, to be able to know, when your ad has actually been seen and engaged with. We also offer engagement metrics that are specific to online. Earned media measurement, things like that. So these metrics are now, they exist online and they're easy to take advantage of for the brand marketer. In terms of the formats, we are enabling very rich and brand-friendly canvases through which brands can express their message, and they can do it at scale programmatically via an exchange. I'll actually give you a demo later on in the presentation specifically for the format. It's a pretty exciting, I'll show you something exciting. And efficiency, through things like, through the things that we do in programmatic direct, there's now much more efficiency in the mid to premium tier for the brand advertisers to take advantage of and want to move their spend online and pay more for the online impression. So in the rest of this presentation, I'd like to focus specifically and go deeper specifically on programmatic everywhere, And one thing I'd like to do is, I'd like to show you how you can take advantage of programmatic to make your business more profitable. And as part of that, I'd like to dispel some preconceptions that exist in the industry about programmatic, which will help you adapt and embrace programmatic. So we've heard, including from Bonita, that programmatic is growing and growing steadily. But what's needed for the programmatic market to take off? Like with any market, you need buyers, you need demand, and you need supply. And so we are seeing that big premium brands are beginning to spend heavily on programmatic. For example, Kellogg, one of the world's biggest consumer packaged goods companies, has made a big bet, and now they're spending 70% of their display spend in programmatic. Samsung did a big programmatic campaign when they were launching their Galaxy S4 line of phones. On the sell side, we also see adoption. For example, top publishers like in the US, like the New York Times, Forbes, they are using programmatic and they're using ad exchange to open and create new revenue opportunities for themselves. So eMarketer, so here on the screen you see a graph from eMarketer projections. And you notice that they project that just in this 1 year, 2013, programmatic as a share of total display spend is positioned to jump from just 12% last year to all the way to 21%, which is almost a double increase in the share. And as Bonita mentioned, we believe it's going to be much, much bigger. So, but it's important to understand that this is just the beginning. We think it's just the beginning. It's going to grow because that's, we truly believe that this is how the world is moving, and more fraction of advertising, including offline, is going to be sold and bought programmatically. But I want to make sure we should not think too narrowly about what programmatic is in order to believe the trend. Programmatic is much more than just RTB. And RTB is much more than remnant. So yesterday, in the recent past, this was the picture. Programmatic was basically a place where you dumped your low-end inventory that you can't monetize otherwise. And you will get a little CPM for that instead of getting nothing. But what we are doing with the tools that we will show you and with the efforts that we are making, we are moving programmatic from the remnant just for banners world to where it is going to play a more important and more nuanced role in your total monetization strategy, where it allows you to capture more of the spend in the middle tier of your inventory. And also to do so in a way that enhances and complements the way you sell your premium custom sponsorships. And one example of that, Bonita also mentioned it, so I will not talk too long about it, is the new deal types that we are offering to our customers. At the bottom, you see the good old familiar second price, fair, open auction. That's more typically associated with remnant. We've added 2 more deal types, preferred deals and preferred auctions, private auctions. I'm sorry, I should know these things better. So the idea here is that with these two new deal types, you can do basically what you do in your direct sales environment, but do it at scale by basically negotiating with your buy-side partner and then taking slices of your inventory and offering them at a fixed or a fixed minimum price to a select group of buyers. And they cannot get this inventory in the open exchange. And we've seen adoption of these deal types increasing steadily and in a healthy way, generally, but also in Latin America. So in Latin America, just in this 1 year, we've seen a 2 times increase in the number of preferred deals, and almost 13-time increase in the number of impressions transacted in the preferred deals. So now let me be a little bit more concrete and demonstrate and show to you 3 opportunities that we see in specifically, how you can take programmatic and apply it in your business to make it more profitable and more efficient. The first opportunity is to have a better control and better visibility end-to-end across the spectrum of your inventory. The second opportunity is basically opportunity to increase revenue by creating more differentiation of your product, which is your audience and your impressions, and move beyond the commoditization that sometimes is still associated with programmatic. And opportunity number 3 is to basically decrease the costs of your ad operations by taking advantage of increased efficiencies and decreased complexities that programmatic allows you to do. So let's jump in. Imagine that you need to go from, let's say, Sao Paulo to Rio, and someone gives you 2 cars and says, yes, go drive these 2 cars to Rio. And you might say, why would I drive 2 cars? I can just get there by driving 1 car. That's basically the situation you have today with your direct and indirect channels, in that you have several parallel systems that basically do the same thing, but slightly differently. And your buyers, your advertisers are buying your inventory oftentimes across several of those channels. And as a result, the campaign data is spread out across the systems. And it's very hard to make sense of that data, basically. So one of the things they're doing in the direction of improving this is we are driving and combining our product for direct and indirect, so DFP and AdX, for example, in such a way as to combine all the data that is relevant to your inventory sales in such a way as to, in very easy to use reports and screens and controls, show you where the best opportunities lie for your inventory, where you're missing out, where you're underpricing yourself or overpricing your inventory, which are your strongest revenue channels, and basically show you upfront your revenue opportunities in an easy to see and use way. Opportunity number 2 is to differentiate your product and therefore get more money for it. I'll give 3 specific examples of doing it, but there are more. So the first way to do so is to create unique inventory packages. And we spoke a couple of times already about preferred deals and private auctions. But the basic idea is you restrict your access to your inventory, you control who gets that access, and you control the level of price. The other way is to sell your audience at scale. So for example, we have recently we integrated DFP first-party data into ad exchange. And what that allows you to do is basically offer your buyers, your audience in a controlled manner at scale. And the buyers are willing to spend extra, pay extra for that. Oh, sorry. And the third example is to use richer creative canvases that are more friendly to brands and that command higher CPM as a result. Let me give you a demo. Have you heard of the Fast and Furious movie series? I think so. This was the movie number 6 in the series, but I think the movie number 5 was actually set on location here in Brazil, and it was actually shot in Brazil as well. So when they launched their 6th movie in the series, they did a big programmatic campaign to drive awareness of the movie unveil, and they used our Lightbox ad format. It's an ad format that's basically a big rich media format that's very friendly to a brand's message. A unique thing about this format is that it qualifies an engagement by only expanding out of its initial state, which is a simple banner, if the user has hovered over the format with a mouse pointer for more than 2 seconds. The idea being, to exclude accidental engagement, so to speak. This format also stays on your screen, and the user typically doesn't have to leave your site. And it's a very rich format, so brands are willing to pay more for it, higher CPMs. Can you actually stop it here for just pause a little? So pay attention to the top right corner and see where that format is starting. That ad is starting in a standard banner. Then it expands to show you the red carpet premiere of the movie with a companion banner on the side.
I am with Vin Adito. Do you hear all this love behind you?
So much love, so much love.
I think we can stop it. But the idea is just to remind you. So when you saw on the right-hand side of the site, the left side of the banner had a little bar saying expanding for 2 seconds as soon as the user hovered over with their mouse. And so other interesting thing about this format is that it actually ties together those three examples of using, increasing your differentiation that we just mentioned. It was bought on the ad exchange using third-party data from DFP and using this new format from which a user doesn't have to leave your site, and yet they have expressed a qualified engagement. So that's just an example of formats, but we're working on many, many more. And the number 3 opportunity that I wanted to present with programmatic is the decrease in complexity, which causes a decrease in costs and thereby drives your margin, increases your margins. But let me just, we looked at what are the primary causes of, primary reasons for wasted effort at a publisher trying to traffic a campaign. There are the primary reason is that systems are not communicating with each other, and therefore a human trafficker has to basically do that communication for the systems. And there are 2 places where systems don't talk to each other. One is within your organization, where your ad server is not communicating tightly with your programmatic solution. And the second is where your systems do not communicate enough or cleanly enough with the advertisers' systems. So what we're doing on the first headache is we are unifying DFP and AdX in such a way as to basically give you a unified view and unified control over your audience, your inventory management, your pricing, blocking, and other ways of managing your transaction, your inventory. In addition, this gives you an extra added benefit in that through smarter prioritization between the direct and indirect channels, you get higher revenue per impression. And the other steps we're taking, steps we are taking in the other problem area, is we're going to apply programmatic principles to let machines do what currently people are doing, and it's a big, big headache for you. And the first step in that direction is the automated creative trafficking between DFP and DFA, so that you no longer need to email tags back and forth, email insertion orders back and forth, spend countless hours doing, figuring out why those reports don't match. So that's just still in early stages. We hope to launch a first iteration of this by the end of the year, and you will be able to take advantage of that. But the basic, I guess, just to summarize this, the basic vision is we want you as a publisher to focus on your core business, which is create great content and monetize that content by making deals. Let the technology handle the tedious transactions in a much more streamlined and efficient manner and much more precisely. So with that, let me just quickly summarize kind of the main points I would like you to leave here today with in terms of programmatic. Programmatic is not just remnant, it's more than remnant. It lets your business be more profitable in three ways. You get more control and more visibility over what you're selling, and it makes it easier for you to sell and to identify additional revenue opportunities. The second way is you increase your revenues by differentiating your product and making your buyers want to spend more, want to buy more of your inventory programmatically at scale. And the third opportunity is to reduce complexity. And reducing complexity drives up your margins and your profitability. This is all for my part of the presentation. I'd like to see if anybody in the audience have questions. Anybody? No questions?
What do the publishers need in order to be able to show those engagement ads?
So the question was, what do publishers need to do to show those engagement ads? So tactically, the engagement ads are available to you as a publisher to run, but you need to opt into those technologies. So if you go to AdX and you go to the screen where you control your technology opt-ins, you will see Lightbox, you will see several different expandable technologies, and we are working to add more things to that, things like the rising star formats. We are also committing to experimenting and trying to start offering ability for you to serve native ads, but this is still early days, so don't quote me on that one yet. So that's how you take advantage. Basically, you have to go and opt in, but it's already available to you to do it today. Questions? Surely you guys must have questions about some of the stuff. It's relatively new. Yes?
How is AdX and AdMob integration right now? Is all the AdMob inventory inside AdX?
No, not yet. So the integration is still taking place. I don't know much details, a lot of details about AdMob. I'm not working on that side, but I know that it's not yet complete. But when it's complete, I think it's going to be great because it will bring a great scale of mobile inventory to the market, and it'll help kickstart the spend on that inventory. And one of the things that we at DoubleClick and AdExchange constantly strive, and Bonita touched upon that, is create a thriving marketplace by doing extensive market development to bring more players on both sides to the table so that they can transact. Any other?
Yeah, I just had a question about timing. Maybe the local guys can also help answer the question. I think a lot of the times what happens is that the local advertisers are a little behind on all of that stuff. And even though the technology is available, there isn't really a whole lot of demand, especially Brazil that's behind the US quite a bit. So I was wondering if you have any data or any sense of how mature the advertisers are about using this technology in Brazil?
So, so I think there are a couple of points I'd like to make on that question. Number one point is, it's not fully related, but I think it's something I want to convey anyway, is that the Brazil market is a little bit less mature in terms of the amount of programmatic activity happening compared to the North American market. But the Brazilian and Latin American markets are basically undergoing those same exact challenges that the North American and Western European markets have seen a couple of years back, and for which we have built the technology. So I think you have actually a better situation in which you have the problems, but technology is already there, and all you need to do is take advantage of that technology. So that's one point I wanted to bring across. The other point is, obviously it's a chicken and egg problem. So you guys have to, we encourage both the buyers and the publishers, you guys, to bring more of your, to publishers, to bring more of your inventory on board. And there's some ways in which we help you to do that. For example, this chicken and egg problem applies front and center with the new formats. And what we do is, suddenly I appeared on the screen. We allow, so for example, let's say a publisher wants to say, yes, I'm ready, let me start selling this bigger formats, the 970 by 200 pixel billboard on the site. But what makes them reluctant to do that is that there's no demand yet. And what we do is we have technologies to allow filling that demand gap with other formats, smaller size formats, smaller creative formats, to bridge the gap for a time until demand picks up. We also have tremendous demand from AdWords, and AdWords is doing really creative stuff to make display ads and even text ads look very premium. This is still early days, but I've seen it and it really looks awesome. So I guess that's a couple of ways to answer that.